Welcome back to Grister or Gifted. We're doing a deep dive today into the world of crypto and the FTX saga. Our subject this time is Caroline Ellison, former FTX executive who went from math whiz to convicted felon. So was she a tech visionary who made some bad calls, or a cunning con artist who helped orchestrate one of the biggest financial scandals in recent history?
Well, what's fascinating about Ellison is that she really embodies the challenge of separating brilliance from deception, especially in a field like crypto where the lines are often blurred.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got court documents, news articles, even glimpses into Ellison's personal life through her own writing. And what we see is a woman who, on paper, seems destined for extraordinary things. A math prodigy from a family of academics, a Stanford graduate. And get this, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia once lived in her childhood home.
Wow. Yeah, it's a background that speaks to an upbringing steeped in intellectual rigor. But it also raises the question, how did someone with so much potential end up at the heart of such a massive fraud?
Right. And that's where her journey into the world of finance gets interesting. Ellison didn't just stumble into crypto. She started out in traditional finance, interning at Jane Street Capital, a firm known for its incredibly competitive environment.
Yeah, it's a testament to her ambition and drive. But then she makes this seemingly abrupt leap, leaving the stable finance job to join Alameda Research, a crypto trading firm. And it's here that she crosses paths with Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, the founder of FTX.
Ah, yes, SBF.
Yeah.
And this relationship, both professional and romantic, becomes a defining element of the FTX story. We have accounts from former employees suggesting a culture of polyamory within the FTX executive team in the Bahamas. It paints a rather unusual and potentially ethically compromised picture of their work environment.
Yeah, it's crucial context because it starts to blur the lines between personal and professional relationships, raising questions about judgment and potential conflicts of interest.
Okay, so to understand the scale of what happened, we need to break down how Alameda Research and FTX were connected. It wasn't just a case of two separate companies.
Right. Imagine FTX as a bustling casino
Yeah.
and Alameda as a high roller using customer deposits to place risky bets. When those bets went south, they tapped into FTX customer funds to cover their losses. It was a house of cards built on a foundation of deception.
Wow. And Ellison admitted to knowing about this and actively participating in it.
Mhm.
It's mind-boggling, and because for a while it seemed like they were pulling it off. FTX was gaining massive popularity. They had celebrity endorsements, even that Super Bowl ad. But then CoinDesk, a crypto news outlet, publishes a report revealing Alameda's precarious financial position, and it all starts to unravel.
Yeah, that report was the pin that burst the bubble. It exposed how heavily Alameda relied on FTX's own token, triggering a panic sell-off. And then there's the balance sheet saga. Ellison confessed to creating misleading balance sheets to deceive lenders about Alameda's true financial health.
There's this striking detail from the sources. Ellison reportedly started crying when confronted about the need to hedge Alameda's risky positions. It offers a glimpse into the immense pressure she must have been under.
It does. But it also makes you wonder, were those tears genuine remorse? Or the panic of someone watching their carefully constructed house of cards collapse? Was this a sign of a guilty conscience, or simply the fear of getting caught?
Right. And as the situation spirals out of control, FTX files for bankruptcy. And both Ellison and SBF face serious charges. But here's where their paths diverge dramatically. Ellison strikes a plea deal and agrees to cooperate with the government.
And her cooperation proves to be absolutely crucial in building the case against SBF. Her testimony is detailed and damning. She provides key insights into the inner workings of FTX and Alameda, even sharing private diary entries with the court.
Wow. Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over the case, even remarked, "I've seen a lot of cooperators in 30 years here. I'd never seen one quite like Ms. Ellison." That's a pretty powerful statement coming from a federal judge.
It certainly raises questions about her motives for cooperating. Was it genuine remorse, a calculated move to minimize her own sentence? Or perhaps a combination of both? It's a question that goes to the heart of who Caroline Ellison really is and what role she played in this massive fraud.
It really makes you question whether she was a willing participant in this scheme or if she was manipulated by someone like SBF, who by many accounts was incredibly charismatic and persuasive.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Ellison herself described SBF as truly bad at understanding big numbers, which, if true, paints a rather strange picture of the man supposedly leading a multi-billion-dollar crypto empire.
Right.
It almost suggests that Ellison, with her mathematical prowess, was brought in to provide a veneer of legitimacy to SBF's operation.
So are we looking at a scenario where he surrounded himself with brilliant but perhaps naive individuals who he could then exploit for his own gain?
It's a possibility worth considering, and remember, Ellison was drawn to effective altruism. This philosophy of using evidence and reason to maximize positive impact in the world. SBF publicly embraced similar ideals, which could have created an environment where his vision seemed genuinely altruistic, even if the underlying methods were questionable.
So she might have been blinded by her own desire to do good, to believe in this idea of changing the world through crypto.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that in court, Ellison expressed remorse for the people she hurt, even shedding tears as she apologized. But of course, it's difficult to know whether this remorse was genuine or a calculated attempt to secure a lighter sentence.
Yeah, it's almost Shakespearean in a way, this story of ambition, deception, and perhaps misplaced idealism. And it begs the question, how do we as individuals distinguish between genuine visionaries and those who exploit good intentions for their own personal gain? How can we avoid falling prey to charismatic figures who might not have our best interests at heart?
It's a challenge we all face, especially in a world where information travels at lightning speed and it's easy to get caught up in hype and grand promises. Ellison's story underscores the importance of critical thinking, of questioning assumptions, and not being afraid to dig deeper even when things appear too good to be true.
And in the world of crypto, with its promise of decentralized finance and the potential for rapid wealth creation, that critical lens is more crucial than ever because, as the FTX saga so vividly demonstrates, the line between innovation and deception can be incredibly thin.
Yeah, the consequences, as we've seen, are far-reaching, impacting not just individual investors, but potentially shaking the very foundations of an entire industry.
Speaking of consequences, let's zoom out and consider the ripple effects of FTX's implosion on the crypto world as a whole.
The FTX collapse undoubtedly eroded trust in the crypto space. Regulators are now under immense pressure to implement stricter oversight, which could potentially stifle innovation in the industry.
So it's almost as if the Wild West of crypto is facing its reckoning.
In a sense, it is, and there's a debate raging about whether increased regulation is essential for the long-term health of the industry, or if it will stifle the very decentralization that drew so many to crypto in the first place.
Right. It's a complex balancing act, and it's fascinating to watch it play out in real time. But amidst all the financial analysis and regulatory debates, it's crucial to remember the human cost of this saga. Thousands of people lost their savings. Their trust shattered. Ellison's story, while dramatic, is just one thread in a much larger tapestry of loss and disillusionment.
It's a sobering reminder that behind every headline-grabbing financial scandal, there are real people whose lives are profoundly affected.
It really underscores the fact that in the world of finance and technology, where the lines between innovation and deception can be so blurred, it's more important than ever to be discerning, to ask tough questions, and to consider the potential consequences. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the life and career of Caroline Ellison, we're left with a fundamental question that lies at the heart of our show: grifter or gifted? Was she a brilliant mind seduced by the dark side of ambition, or a cunning manipulator who used her intellect to deceive and defraud?
It's a question that the courts have attempted to answer, sentencing Ellison to 2 years in prison for her role in the FTX collapse. But the debate continues: was this a fair sentence? Was she a victim of SBF's manipulations, or was she a willing accomplice?
I think what's so compelling about Ellison's story is that it resists easy answers. She's a complex figure, a brilliant mathematician who made choices that had devastating consequences, and it forces us to grapple with the gray areas of ambition, ethics, and accountability in a world where the pursuit of innovation and wealth often collide.
Her story is a reminder that intelligence and good intentions don't necessarily equate to ethical behavior, and it highlights the dangers of hero worship and the importance of independent thinking, especially when it comes to figures who present themselves as visionaries or disruptors.
So as we leave you with this thought-provoking case, we encourage you to consider the lessons we can glean from Caroline Ellison's journey. How can we as individuals cultivate a healthy skepticism without stifling innovation? How do we recognize the red flags of potential deception, especially in fields that are rapidly evolving and often shrouded in complexity?
Ultimately, the answer lies in a combination of education, critical thinking, and a willingness to ask tough questions, even when faced with charismatic figures and seemingly revolutionary ideas. The FTX saga and Ellison's role in it serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the pursuit of progress should never come at the expense of ethical principles and human well-being.
Well said, and that's a wrap on another episode of Grifter or Gifted. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.